What's goody? Hey man, so now that the divisional round for today is pretty much over because the Seahawks game is pretty much over as I'm sitting here, it's 27-6. I don't really think that the 49ers with all their injuries are going to come back from this one. But that's not the game I really want to talk anyway. I want to talk about anyway because it is time for us to talk about the Bills Broncos game. This is a game that you're going to be hearing a lot about. Honestly, for a long time, this was one hell of a game that was played tonight. There was a whole lot of controversial calls in this game. There were some highlight plays in this game that we're going to talk about. There was just this game gave you a bunch of everything. It was high scoring. There was turnovers. There was excitement. There was moments for both teams. The crowd was into it. There was just moments throughout the entire game. The entirety of the game had you locked into the screen because you didn't know what was going to happen next. There was moments where it looked like the Broncos were selling, and then there were moments where it looked like Josh Allen and the Bills. No matter how many tries, how many opportunities they had, they couldn't figure it out. So let's talk about this game first. I want to say a couple things about this game. The first thing I want to say about this game, while I don't believe this game is fully on Josh Allen, we're not about to sit here and pretend like Josh Allen, the refs bailed out the Broncos or the refs are the reason the Bills lost this game. That's the first thing I want to talk about because the notion that the refs cost the Bills this game just isn't one that's true. I understand you're mad about the forgive me, about the interception in overtime. I understand that you're upset they didn't review it. I understand that you're upset that they called an interception on the field. I understand that you're upset that they stuck with that. I understand that you're upset that the Bills called a timeout and that nobody still initiated a review. I get that, and that's the part where I agree with you. I completely do not understand how with 5 minutes left in an overtime of a playoff game that doesn't get reviewed in as big of a game as this is and as big of a moment as this is and as close of a call as that is for Buffalo to call a timeout expecting for the world to get 8 more looks at this and for the review to be initiated from the booth or New York or whoever it has to be initiated by. For there to be no review is suspicious, is insane, is a disservice to everybody who was watching, and is a disservice to the Buffalo Bills. That is one of those times where you sacrifice kind of the viewership, the watchability of the game in order to get the right call. That is too big of a moment, especially with all the kind of controversial calls that led up to that, with the pass interference calls and the roughing the passer and whatever. You have to kind of you have to at least review that one. Now, what I will say, there was this angle they showed one of the last times they reviewed it, and from this angle you could see the ball almost looked like it started to come out of the receiver's hands because you can see his bright red gloves very clearly. You can almost see from underneath that the ball starts to come out a little bit, that he might not have full possession right before he hits the ground, and that's enough to where I might be like, okay, it's an interception. Even though I agree with the call of an interception, I completely do not agree with the fact that they did not review it at all. I will say that right now. And some other things that I both agree with and don't agree with the refs, just so we can get this conversation out of the way. There was a drive, and I believe it was late in the fourth quarter, where where the Broncos have the ball, and the Bills get called for a pass interference and a roughing the passer on one play, and on that play I didn't really see too much of a PI. It looked like he was holding his hand a little bit, but it didn't look like it was anything too bad, especially for that moment. But there was very obviously a roughing the passer. Joey Bosa pushed Bo Nix 5 seconds after the play was over. It was very stupid for him to do that. So I completely agreed. Either way, there was going to be a penalty call there, and that wasn't like a 50-yard PI, so it wasn't like it took him down the whole field. Either way, that was going to be a big swing right there. So I think that was going to happen inevitably. But for that second one, for you to realize that you just already called a PI on literally, if not the play before, it was 2 plays before, but I believe it was literally the very play beforehand. You cannot go out there and call a PI, especially a softer one like that. You can argue that maybe it was PI, but for you to call it on back-to-back plays, especially when the first one I didn't really see anything, and on the second one I didn't really see as much either. I definitely saw more on the second one than the first one, but for you to call them both in back-to-back moments in that big of a moment, in that big of a time in the game, at that pivotal of a time in the game, with the score being as tight as it was, with the momentum being in the balance kind of, it wasn't like either team had a whole bunch of momentum, and this was a chance kind of, if Buffalo gets a stop, because I believe they had the lead at this point. I believe it was 24-23 at this point or something like that. This gives a chance for Denver to get a little bit more momentum. This gives a chance for Buffalo to completely shut the crowd down. So that really did change the swing of this game. And if I was a Buffalo Bills fan, I think I would be more mad about that second pass interference call in that sequence or on that drive than about the interception and kind of the way that was officiated and everything like that. Now, some other things that I'll say. I've heard people say, oh, this is the Sean McDermott defense and everything like that, and I feel you with that, but here's what I'll say about the Sean McDermott defense. They did force a turnover. They did force Bo Nix to go, like, it was a little above 50% on his completion percentage. They did I believe, let me just make sure, but I believe they really didn't allow too much rushing. Yeah, like they really didn't allow too many rushing yards. They did a really good job against the run. We know that Denver's not a team that's going to pride itself on the run or anything like that either. But it wasn't like we saw the Broncos go out there and get 33 points because their offense was elite. We saw the Broncos go out there and get 33 points because the Buffalo Bills had 5 turnovers, and I know at least at one point of this game, in the early going of this game, 3 of those turnovers had led to 17 points or something like that, 16 points, 13 points. It was something like that. Those 3 turnovers had led to like a touchdown and 2 field goals. So those turnovers that the Buffalo Bills were giving up were giving up points, where they were leading to points for the Denver Broncos, and we can't sit here and pretend like that didn't play a major factor in this game. We can't sit here and pretend like Josh Allen didn't throw 2 interceptions, including the one in overtime, and lose the ball on 2 fumbles, including a really bad fumble where he was just trying to do too much at the end of the second half. At the end of the second quarter, and that led to 3 free points right before halftime to increase Denver's lead to, I believe it was 10 at the time, right before half, and they're already at home, already got the momentum. You just can't do that type of stuff. And when this is your 8th playoff game or whatever this is, or if your 8th year straight in the playoffs, you've played more than 8 playoff games, because I know you've lost like 7 years in a row. You have to have more experience in that. In a moment like this, going against a defense like that, in an environment like that, you have to take advantage of every single opportunity. And you were given opportunity after opportunity in this game, and time after time again, it looked like Josh Allen was trying to play hero ball, and it was not working out whenever he looked like he was trying to do that. I will say, Keon Coleman is not good. The Bills' receiving core is not good. Josh Allen was not the only one that struggled with like turning the ball over and stuff like that. I do not think Sean McDermott. I thought Sean McDermott should have been fired after last year, and I 100% think he should be fired after this year. I do not really understand how guys like him, and especially Zach Taylor, still have a job. Because I think if it was anybody else in any situation other than Buffalo, and you have a star quarterback, and you've had solid rosters at least every single year, at the very minimum, you've had solid rosters every single year around that MVP quarterback, and you can't make it to the Super Bowl once in any of those years, you keep losing to the same guy throughout all those years. In any other situation, I feel like the franchise would have been like, okay, maybe that one thing we need to get us over the hump is just a new voice in the locker room. Maybe as much as we love Sean McDermott, the voice is going to stay. Anybody else would have done that by now, and I thought that should have been done last year. I think it will 100% be done now. Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, I think he did a phenomenal job this game. I think he called a lot of plays in this game where it just like it opened the game up for them, and it made way for the Buffalo Bills to have a lot of success offensively against a very good defense. But I really do believe that a majority of this loss falls on Josh Allen. At a certain point, we can't keep sitting here making excuse after excuse, whether we want to talk about the receiving core, we want to talk about the overtime rules, we want to talk about this and that. When you can't make it to the Super Bowl for 8 straight years, and you've had the rosters and you've been talented enough to do it, eventually, it hasn't just been Patrick Mahomes, you've lost to the Bengals, and you've now lost to the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix, and prayers up to Bo Nix, who now is going to be out for the rest of the playoff run and next season, and a part of next season at least. Insane with a broken, or maybe not part of next season, because I don't know how bad the broken ankle is, but who's going to be out for the rest of this playoff run is absolutely insane. But yeah, I just don't really understand how anybody could sit here with a straight face try to tell me that this loss doesn't fall at least 80% on Josh Allen. The refs, you can say what you want to say. I know people always love to get pissed off at the refs, but the refs have a tough job to do. And if the Denver Broncos played a clean game here, they win this game by 20 points at least. You don't often have 5 turnovers and you're still in the game by 3 points. So, yeah, the refs may have made some mistakes late in the game, don't get me wrong, and the refs may have done some questionable things late in the game, don't get me wrong, but we're not about to sit here and pretend like that was the reason the Buffalo Bills lost the game. 5 turnovers is the reason you lost the game. And Denver still gave you chances, and you still, time after time again, couldn't capitalize. You time after time again said, hey, every shot we get, let's just turn that hoe over. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching as always. That Patriots-Texans game now, pretty much, the winner of that pretty much goes to the Super Bowl, so that'll be interesting to see. Bears-Rams will be super interesting to see tomorrow. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching as always. Please be safe to those of y'all who got snow today and are going to be getting snow tomorrow. Pennsylvania got dumped today. We got like 4 or 5 inches where I'm at, and we were not expecting that much. So anyways, yeah, I love y'all. Keep God first, man. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't remember which all of this I said, but I'm about to go hop on Apex. And yeah, have a good rest of your night.